Right, what I've done now is, after making those common earths to each of these switches, I've wired the control terminals that connect to the Arduino board, the control terminal wires, to the other lug of the switches. So when this focus diode, that's better. So when these momentary switches are engaged, making circuit, it'll then run the control terminal to earth, and that's how the Arduino works. You program it in terms of looking for the control terminal to go from 0 volts to ground, to no volts in effect. So that's the mechanics, or the hardware configuration of the control terminals. It's looking for ground to be considered to go from its high state to its low state, and you'll see that in the programming. Ground means low state, which means the switch is engaged. High means high resistance, which means the switches are not engaged and there is infinite resistance. At least that's my understanding of it. High resistance, low resistance. High being none, low being completely grounded. Right. In addition, I've installed the LEDs. This is a bit of hardware for the mounting in the bezel, but each of these LEDs go to a control terminal. So the control terminals for the switch are all the even numbers here, and the control terminals for the LEDs are the odd numbers, and they're paired together. So what that is doing is, in addition to being wired to a common positive, so this is the common positive leg of the LED, being a diode, they're polarized. This is wired to this white wire, which you can't see. This white wire here, which is connected to the 5-volt output at the end of this thing, which I went through in my other video. So there's 5 volts coming out of this white wire, and that's going through a resistor. I can't remember the exact value of that. I might try and plug it into the what you see on screen. I always get confused. 47 ohms or 4.7k or 40. Yeah, I think it's 4.7k or something like that. Anyway, it's enough to bring the 5 volts coming out of the Arduino board down to about 3-ish volts that the LED is quite happy with. So each of these positive legs has a common positive supply, each through their individual LEDs. So there's only 4 LEDs in this, and the other leg of the LED is the negative leg. So again, what happens in the control terminals here, the program will tell the Arduino unit that these are control terminals for switching, and these are control terminals for doing an LED. And when you switch the LED from 0 to being low, from high being infinite resistance to low being grounded, the ground creates the negative. So you can't make these control terminals give you a positive voltage unless you run it through a resistor, switch it through a transistor to do like a PMP. So the negative goes to the, anyway, I won't worry about the transistor. If you want to make a positive voltage come out of this thing, you have to use a resistor to make the negative switch to the positives. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with what we're doing here. That's a bit of junk there. Let's just see if we can get a close up on that resistor. No, not to work. Right. So that's the basic hardware, and these two here are for banking up and down the patches, so I don't have indicating LEDs for those. The other thing is, I've put a bit of hardware here to reverse the polarity of this connector here. This 9-volt supply is meant for effects units, which means it's center negative coming out of this connector, whereas this connector here is center positive, which is the standard configuration for everything except effects units, because effects units want to use the outside barrel as the positive in order to switch between battery and power supply. So if I plug that in, I plugged the wrong one in again. I've got two here. If I plug that in, sorry, I plugged into the wrong hole. So I'll just undo that again. Alright, the magic of electricity. If I plug that in, that lights up. Also, on the other side here, you can see if I remove the light a bit, we've got our indicating LEDs, and because I'm using a arduino that was previously programmed for these sorts of controls, some of the controls at random also work. I think the blue one works. Off, on. Okay, that's got nothing to do with the program we're going to use for this. It's just by coincidence that some of them are on. So, in addition to which, I've done a bit of bit more work in fixing up the hardware to be able to bring the power supply for the electro harmonics through here. This is going to be the Midi connector.